Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. So, background first. Because this situation makes zero sense without context. And trust me, there's a lot of context here that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I've been married to my husband Albert for 3 years now, and we've been together for 5 total. I thought things were going pretty well between us until this whole thing exploded in our faces. Albert was married before to this woman named Irene, and they were together for like 8 years total, married for 5 of those. They got divorced about 2 years before Albert and I started dating. The divorce was messy from what I understand. Lots of fighting about money and property, and Irene apparently cheated on him with some guy from her work, which is what ended things. But Albert doesn't really talk about it much, and I never pushed because honestly, I don't really care about his past relationships as long as they stay in the past where they belong. Now, Albert's mom, Denise, is a whole other story, and I should have seen this coming from the beginning. But I guess I was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, which, looking back, was probably my first mistake. Denise never really warmed up to me from day one, and I could tell she was comparing me to Irene constantly, even though she never said it outright. Just little comments here and there about how Irene used to do this or that, how Irene was so good at cooking or decorating or whatever. I tried to just ignore it, because I figured she'd come around eventually once she got to know me better. But it's been 3 years now, and she still acts like I'm some kind of temporary fixture in Albert's life, even though we're married and have been talking about having kids soon. The thing about Denise is that she's always been kind of dramatic and high maintenance, and Albert has always just gone along with whatever she wants because she raised him as a single mom after his dad died when he was 12. I think he feels guilty about not being around enough or something. So when Denise started talking about wanting to downsize from her big house to something smaller now that she's retired, Albert immediately jumped in and said he'd help her find something and pay for it as a gift. I wasn't thrilled about spending that much money without really discussing it first, but Albert was so excited about being able to do something nice for his mom. Honestly, our finances are pretty good, so I didn't make a big deal about it, even though we're talking about like $400,000 here for a nice little house in a good neighborhood. Albert found this perfect little house for Denise. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 nice small yard, close to her friends and her church, and all the places she likes to go. He bought it outright as a surprise for her 65th birthday back in March. Denise cried and hugged him, and said it was the most wonderful gift anyone had ever given her, and how proud she was to have such a thoughtful son. I was standing right there, but she didn't acknowledge me at all, even though half that money was technically mine too, since we share our finances. But whatever, I was happy that she was happy, and Albert was practically glowing with pride, so I kept my mouth shut about feeling left out. Denise moved into the new house in April and spent the next few months decorating and getting settled and making it exactly how she wanted it. Albert would go over there every weekend to help with little projects and repairs, and I'd usually go with him because that's what married couples do. They spend time with family together. Except Denise would always find ways to get Albert off doing something by himself, while she'd make awkward small talk with me, or just ignore me completely and focus on her neighbor, who'd come over, or call one of her friends to chat, while I sat there feeling like an idiot. So last month, Denise starts talking about having a housewarming party to show off the new place to all her friends and family. Albert gets all excited and starts helping her plan it, asking who she's going to invite and what kind of food she wants to serve and all that stuff. I'm listening to all this planning and assuming that, of course, I'm invited, because I'm Albert's wife and I helped pay for the damn house, even if she doesn't want to acknowledge that part. But Denise never actually says anything to me directly about the party, just keeps talking to Albert about it whenever I'm around. Then about 2 weeks ago, Albert comes home from work and he's got this weird look on his face. I can tell something's bothering him, but he's trying to act normal, and I hate when people do that because it just makes everything more awkward. So I ask him what's wrong, and he says Denise called him at work to finalize the guest list for the party, and there's something he needs to talk to me about. I'm thinking, okay, Maybe she wants me to bring a specific dish or help with decorations or something. But no, that's not it at all. Albert sits me down, and he's doing that thing where he's trying to find the right words and taking forever to get to the point. I'm getting more anxious by the second, because I can tell this is going to be bad news. Finally, he just comes out with it and says that Denise doesn't want me to come to the housewarming party because she invited Irene, and she doesn't want things to be awkward between us. I just stared at him for a minute, because I honestly thought I heard him wrong. There's no way his mother would invite his ex-wife to a party celebrating a house that we bought for her, and then tell me I can't come. But no, that's exactly what happened. Albert is sitting there explaining to me how Denise ran into Irene a few weeks ago, and they got to talking. Denise mentioned the new house and the party, and apparently just invited her right there on the spot. When Albert asked Denise why she didn't think to maybe ask him first, before inviting his ex-wife to anything, Denise said that she and Irene had always been close, and that Irene was part of the family for 8 years. She didn't see why they had to stop being friends just because the marriage didn't work out. Now I'm trying to process this, and I ask Albert if Denise knows that Irene cheated on him because maybe she forgot or doesn't understand why they got divorced. But Albert says no. Denise knows exactly what happened, and she still thinks Irene is a wonderful person who just made a mistake. I'm getting madder by the minute, but I'm trying to stay calm, and I ask Albert what he said to his mother when she told him this plan. He says he told her it wasn't appropriate, and that if she wanted to maintain a friendship with Irene, that was her choice. But she shouldn't be excluding me from family events. So I ask what Denise said to that, and Albert gets even more uncomfortable. He says that Denise told him she already invited Irene, and didn't want to uninvite her because that would be rude, but she also didn't want me there because she was worried I might say something to make Irene uncomfortable or cause drama. That's when I completely lost it, because I have never caused drama at any family event ever. I barely even talk at family gatherings because Denise and her friends dominate every conversation, and I mostly just sit there smiling and nodding like an idiot. I told Albert that this was completely insane, and that I couldn't believe his mother would choose his cheating ex-wife over his actual current wife, and that there was no way I was going to be okay with this. Albert said he totally agreed with me, and that he already told Denise she needed to either invite both of us or neither of us, because he wasn't going to choose between his wife and his ex-wife. I thought, okay, good. He's standing up for me and for our marriage, and Denise will realize she's being ridiculous and fix this. But then the next day, Albert comes home, and he looks even worse than before. I can tell the conversation with Denise didn't go well. Turns out Denise completely flipped out when Albert gave her the ultimatum, and accused him of being controlling and letting me manipulate him against his own family. She said that I was obviously jealous of Irene and trying to drive a wedge between Denise and Albert, and that Albert was making a huge mistake by choosing a jealous, manipulative wife over his loving mother, who only wanted what was best for him. Here's where I think I might have gone too far. But honestly, I was so angry I couldn't think straight, and the words just came out of my mouth before I could stop them. I told Albert that if his mother wanted to play games and exclude me from family events while inviting the woman who destroyed his first marriage, then maybe she didn't deserve the house we bought her. I said that if Denise wanted to choose Irene over me, then she could ask Irene to buy her a house, instead of relying on the generosity of the son she was actively disrespecting. Albert got quiet for a long time, and I could see him thinking. I started to worry that maybe I had pushed too hard, and he was going to side with his mother after all. But then he said that I was right, and that his mother was being completely inappropriate and disrespectful to our marriage, and that actions have consequences. He said he was going to call Denise and tell her that if she didn't want me at the housewarming party, then there wouldn't be a housewarming party at all, because he was taking the house back. Now, I want to be clear here that I never actually expected Albert to follow through on taking the house back. I was just so frustrated and hurt that I was lashing out and saying things to make a point about how unfair this whole situation was. But Albert has always been very black and white about things, and once he makes up his mind about something, he doesn't back down. Apparently, he had decided that his mother had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. So Albert calls Denise the next evening, and I'm sitting right there listening to his side of the conversation. I can hear Denise screaming at him through the phone, even though he's not on speaker. Albert tells her very calmly that she has a choice to make. She can either invite me to the party and make it clear that I'm welcome and wanted there, or she can find somewhere else to live because he's taking the house back. Denise is absolutely losing her mind and calling him names and saying he's being manipulated by his evil wife and that she can't believe he would threaten his own mother over some woman he's only been with for 5 years. The conversation went on for about 20 minutes, and it was just Denise screaming and Albert staying calm and repeating that this was her choice and that he wasn't going to continue funding her lifestyle if she couldn't show basic respect to his wife. Finally, Denise hung up on him, and Albert turned to me and said that we'd probably hear from her again once she calmed down and realized he was serious. But Denise didn't calm down. Instead, she doubled down and started calling other family members to tell them what a terrible son Albert was being and how I had manipulated him into threatening to make his own mother homeless over a party invitation. Albert's aunt called him the next day and said she couldn't believe he would be so cruel to Denise and that she was worried about his mental state if he was willing to do something so extreme. I'm sitting here listening to all this family drama unfolding, and I'm starting to feel like maybe I really am the problem here, because everyone seems to think that threatening to take back a house over a party invitation is completely insane. 3 days after Albert's phone call with Denise, she shows up at our house unannounced. She's clearly been crying, but she's also furious, and she starts yelling at both of us the minute we open the door. She's going on and on about how she raised Albert by herself and sacrificed everything for him. And this is how he repays her by threatening to make her homeless, because his jealous wife can't handle the fact that he had a life before her. She says that Irene was like a daughter to her, and that just because Albert couldn't keep his wife happy doesn't mean Denise should have to lose someone she cares about. That's when I snapped, because I have been patient and understanding and tried to build a relationship with this woman for more than 3 years, and she has never once tried to make me feel welcome or wanted in this family. I told Denise that Irene stopped being her daughter-in-law the minute she decided to cheat on Albert and destroy their marriage, and that it was completely inappropriate for Denise to maintain a close friendship with someone who hurt her son like that. I said that if Denise wanted to be friends with Irene, that was her business, but she didn't get to exclude me from family events to make room for Albert's ex-wife. Denise started screaming at me about how I was a manipulative little word missing in transcript, who had turned her son against her, and that she knew from the beginning that I was no good for Albert. She said that Irene never would have acted like this, and that Irene understood family loyalty and wouldn't have tried to come between a mother and son. I just lost it completely and told Denise that maybe if Irene was so perfect, she should ask her to move in and take care of her instead of relying on the son she was treating like garbage. Albert stepped in at that point and told his mother that she needed to leave our house immediately and that she owed me an apology for the way she was speaking to me. Denise turned on Albert and said she couldn't believe he was choosing some woman over his own mother and that his father would be ashamed of the man he had become. Albert's face went completely white when she brought up his dad, and he told Denise that she had exactly 24 hours to decide if she wanted to keep the house or keep excluding me from family events, but she couldn't have both. Denise left after that and didn't contact us for 4 days. I was starting to think maybe she had decided to back down, and we could all move forward and put this behind us. But then yesterday, Albert gets a call from Denise, and she's crying and apologizing and saying she's been thinking about everything, and she realizes she was wrong to exclude me from the party. She says she wants to make things right, and she's going to call Irene and uninvite her so that I can come instead, and we can all be one big happy family again. But here's the thing, and this is where I think I might be going too far. But I can't help how I feel about this. I don't want to go to Denise's party anymore, because the only reason she's inviting me now is because Albert threatened to take the house back. She's not inviting me because she wants me there, or because she realizes I'm part of the family. She's inviting me because she's being forced to, and I don't want to go somewhere I'm not actually wanted. Plus, the fact that her first instinct was to protect Albert's cheating ex-wife's feelings over mine tells me everything I need to know about how she really feels about me. I told Albert that I appreciated him standing up for me, but that I didn't want to go to the party anymore because Denise had made it clear that I wasn't welcome, and I wasn't going to force myself into a situation where I'd be surrounded by people who didn't want me there. Albert said he understood how I felt, but that maybe this could be a chance for me and Denise to start over and build a better relationship now that she knew he was serious about putting our marriage first. But I don't think Denise learned anything from this, except that Albert will use money to get his way. And I think she's going to resent me even more now, because she probably blames me for almost losing her house. I think she's going to spend the rest of our marriage waiting for Albert and me to get divorced, so she can go back to pretending I never existed and welcoming Irene back into the family with open arms. The party is supposed to be this weekend, and Denise keeps calling Albert asking if we're coming and what she can do to make me feel more welcome. It all feels so fake and forced that it makes my skin crawl. I keep thinking about how she screamed at me and called me names and said that Irene was better than me. And I just can't imagine sitting in her living room pretending like everything is fine between us when we both know it's not. Albert thinks I should go to the party because he says this is Denise's way of trying to make amends, and that if I don't go, it will just prove to his family that I really am trying to keep him away from them. But I feel like going to the party would be rewarding Denise's bad behavior and showing her that she can treat me however she wants, as long as she apologizes afterwards when there are consequences. The thing is, I don't even care about the stupid party anymore. I care about the fact that when Denise had to choose between making me feel included and making Albert's ex-wife feel comfortable, she chose the ex-wife without hesitation. Albert's family is still calling him, trying to convince him that he's being unreasonable and that threatening to take back the house was going too far. Maybe they're right, but I can't help feeling like if we back down now, then Denise will know she can treat me however she wants, because Albert will always choose keeping peace in the family over standing up for his wife. I can't live the rest of my life being treated like a second-class citizen in my own husband's family, because his mother can't let go of his ex-wife. So I guess what I'm asking is, am I the idiot for telling Albert to take back the house his mother bought her when she chose to invite his ex-wife over me? And am I the idiot for not wanting to go to her party now, even though she's apologized and invited me? Because honestly, I don't know anymore, and I'm tired of thinking about it. I just want to know if I'm being reasonable, or if I've completely lost my mind over a party invitation that probably doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things. Not an idiot. Denise is playing wife auditions. Like this is a reality show, and Irene is her favorite contestant. The fact that she felt comfortable excluding OP from a party in a house OP helped pay for is wild. Also, inviting the ex-wife who cheated and then saying you can't come so it won't be awkward is the most backward logic I've ever heard. Denise created the awkward. Albert standing up for OP is the bare minimum, and honestly, if she can't show basic respect, she shouldn't be rewarded with a $400,000 gift. And now let's hear community's opinion. Not an idiot, but Albert needs to stop being the family ATM. A house is not a birthday present, it's a life-changing asset. Denise is acting like you're a temporary girlfriend while cashing checks like your family. If Albert wants boundaries, they need to be real boundaries, not, we'll see if you behave at the party. Taking the house back sounds extreme, but Denise went nuclear first by trying to erase you. Also, you're not keeping him away from family. You're asking not to be treated like garbage. Everyone sucks here. Soft on you, harder on Albert. You didn't do anything wrong by not wanting to attend a fake, forced invitation, but telling him she doesn't deserve the house was basically lighting a match near gasoline. That said, Albert is the one who decided to hand his mom a $400,000 house without making it crystal clear that disrespecting his wife equals consequences. Denise is awful, yes, but Albert helped create this monster by always giving in. If he's going to draw the line, he needs to do it calmly and consistently, not in the middle of a blow-up. Not an idiot, and don't go to that party. You're right, she's not inviting you because she wants you there. She's inviting you because she got threatened. If you go, it'll be hours of fake smiles while Denise plays victim and tells everyone how she forgave you. Instead, Albert should send one clear message. You don't exclude my wife and keep my money. Period. Also, get your finances protected. If you share money and he's buying property for family, you need legal agreements in place because this situation is exactly how resentment and divorce level problems start. Update. Well, I wasn't expecting this to blow up like it has, but I guess I should update everyone on what happened since I posted this. Honestly, I'm still trying to process everything that went down, but here goes. So, after I posted this, I showed Albert some of the comments people were leaving, and we talked for a long time about the whole situation and what we should do about the party this weekend. Albert said he had been thinking about it too, and he was starting to wonder if maybe we had gone too far with the house threat. But he still felt like his mother was completely out of line with the whole ex-wife thing, and he didn't know how to fix it without setting a precedent that she could treat me badly whenever she wanted. We decided that Albert would call Denise and tell her that we appreciated her apology and her willingness to uninvite Irene, but that I still wasn't comfortable coming to the party because too much had been said and done. We all needed some time to cool off before we tried to rebuild our relationship. Albert was going to suggest that maybe we could all have dinner together in a few weeks, once everyone had calmed down, and we could start fresh without all the drama and pressure of the party. But before Albert could make that call, Denise showed up at our house again yesterday afternoon, and this time she brought reinforcements in the form of Albert's Aunt Holly and his cousin Carol. They were clearly here for some kind of intervention. Denise had been crying again, and she looked terrible, and she started talking immediately about how she hadn't slept in days, and she was making herself sick, worrying about losing her son and her house. She just wanted everything to go back to normal. Holly jumped in and said that the whole family was worried about Albert, and that everyone thought I was having a bad influence on him, because the Albert they knew would never threaten his own mother like this. Carol said that she had talked to Irene, and that Irene felt terrible about causing problems between Albert and Denise, and that Irene had actually suggested that maybe she shouldn't come to the party if it was going to cause issues. That's when Denise said something that made everything click into place for me, and I realized this whole thing was even worse than I thought. Denise said that she had talked to Irene too, and that Irene had been so sweet and understanding about the whole situation, and had offered to help mediate between Denise and Albert because she knew him so well and understood how to talk to him when he was being stubborn. I looked at Albert, and I could see that he was putting together the same pieces I was, because his face got really hard. He asked Denise exactly how many times she had talked to Irene since running into her. Denise got defensive and said she didn't see why that mattered. But Holly said something about how Denise and Irene had been texting back and forth quite a bit over the past few weeks, and how Irene had been so supportive during this difficult time. So Albert asked Denise directly if she had been discussing our marriage and our personal business with his ex-wife. Denise got even more defensive and said that Irene was just a friend who was trying to help, and that Albert was being paranoid and suspicious for no reason. But then Carol let it slip that Irene had mentioned something about Albert always being stubborn when he felt attacked, and that he usually came around if you gave him time and space to think things through. Albert's whole demeanor changed, and he told Denise that he wanted to know exactly what she had told Irene about our marriage and about this whole situation with the house and the party. Denise tried to say it wasn't important, but Albert kept pushing. Finally, Denise admitted that she had told Irene about how I was trying to control Albert and turn him against his family, and how she was worried that Albert was making a mistake by choosing me over the people who really loved him. That's when I realized that this whole thing wasn't just about Denise wanting to maintain a friendship with Irene. This was about Denise actively working with Albert's ex-wife to undermine our marriage and make me look like the bad guy. Denise had been using Irene as some kind of relationship expert to figure out how to manipulate Albert and get him to choose her over me. And that's why she was so confident about excluding me from the party in the first place. I told Denise that she had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed by involving Albert's ex-wife in our personal business and trying to use her to manipulate our marriage. I said that this wasn't about jealousy or insecurity anymore. This was about Denise actively working against our marriage with someone who had already proven she couldn't be trusted when it came to respecting marriage vows. Denise started crying and saying that I was twisting everything and making it sound worse than it was, and that she just wanted her family back the way it used to be. But Albert cut her off and said that the family had changed when he got divorced, and changed again when he married me, and that Denise needed to accept that Irene wasn't part of our family anymore, and stop trying to use her to fix problems in our relationship. Holly tried to jump in and defend Denise, and said that we were being too harsh, and that Denise was just scared of losing her son, and maybe making some poor choices. But that didn't make her a terrible person. But Albert said that threatening to exclude his wife from family events, while including his cheating ex-wife, wasn't a poor choice. It was an attack on our marriage, and he wasn't going to tolerate it anymore. Then Albert told Denise that the house situation was no longer negotiable, and that she had 30 days to find somewhere else to live, because he was done being manipulated and having his personal business discussed with his ex-wife behind his back. Denise completely lost it and started screaming about how she was being punished for caring about Albert and trying to help him see that he was making a mistake with me. Holly and Carol tried to calm Denise down, but she just kept getting more and more hysterical and saying that I had destroyed her family and turned her son into someone she didn't recognize. She said that Albert used to be such a loving son who would never treat his mother this way, and that I had poisoned him against her from the beginning, and now I was trying to make her homeless. I finally had enough and told Denise that she had made her choice when she decided to team up with Albert's ex-wife against me, and that actions have consequences. I said that if she wanted to play games and manipulate people, then she could find someone else to fund her lifestyle, because we were done being her victims. Denise turned to Albert one last time and begged him to reconsider and said that she would do anything to make this right, and that she would never talk to Irene again if that's what it took to keep her house and her relationship with her son. But Albert said it was too late for that, and that trust once broken couldn't be easily repaired, and that Denise had shown her true colors when she thought she could get away with it. After they left, Albert and I talked for hours about everything that had happened and how we wanted to handle moving forward. Albert said he felt terrible about the whole situation, but that he couldn't allow his mother to undermine our marriage with his ex-wife and expect there to be no consequences. He said he had been wondering why Denise seemed so confident that he would eventually come around and choose her over me, and now he understood that Irene had been coaching her on how to handle him. I asked Albert if he thought we should give Denise another chance, and maybe let her keep the house if she promised to cut contact with Irene and respect our marriage going forward. But Albert said that the problem wasn't just about Irene. It was about Denise's fundamental lack of respect for me and for our marriage, and he didn't think that would change just because she was being forced to hide it better. So, as of right now, Denise has 30 days to move out of the house, and Albert is going to sell it. We're going to use the money for a down payment on a bigger house for ourselves, since we're planning to start trying for kids soon anyway. Albert's extended family is furious with both of us, and we're probably going to be excluded from family gatherings for a while. But honestly, I'm okay with that, because I'd rather be excluded for standing up for myself than included as someone's punching bag. I know some people are going to think we went too far, and that we should have tried harder to work things out with Denise, but I feel like we gave her multiple chances to do the right thing, and she chose to make things worse by involving Albert's ex-wife in our personal business. I don't regret standing up for myself, and I don't regret Albert standing up for our marriage, even though it's probably going to cost us his relationship with his mother, and maybe some other family members too.